What do you want to talk about? What do you want to talk about? That's the new thing now. It's no longer what do you want to talk about. It's what do you want to talk about? That's what Cody says now. Pretty much, SmackDown is dead. Okay, there's really no other way around it at this point. The great episode of SmackDown that I said was, very awesome, like 2 or 3 weeks ago when Punk joined the new Bloodline, or the OG Bloodline, I should say, for War Games. That is probably the last great SmackDown we are going to get for a very long time. Let me explain why. So basically what it comes down to is a simple fact that SmackDown sucks. It just does. And the fact is that the Bloodline, Roman Reigns, the OG Bloodline, Roman Reigns, Paul Heyman, the Usos, and Sami not being on SmackDown anymore, there is already a noticeable difference in the quality and the intrigue and the hype of the show. You're not excited for anything. There's no main event appeal to anything. Nothing is really that like, oh, when you finish watching SmackDown, you're not like, oh, wow, that was amazing, man. I just watched a true main event caliber show. Nothing feels main event caliber. When the Bloodline shows up, everything feels grandiose. It feels epic. It feels important. And it feels like it has stakes. Nothing on SmackDown now without the Bloodline feels like it has stakes. It doesn't matter. The episode of SmackDown a couple weeks ago when Punk joined the OG Bloodline, and I said that episode was great because it was an awesome episode from top to bottom. The problem is that they don't have anything like that anymore. There's nothing that can start and end the show and be in the middle of the show and backstage segments that maintains your intrigue and your hype levels throughout the entire episode. There's nothing like that anymore. Cody Rhodes barely wrestles on TV, and on top of that, he hasn't been in any engaging or interesting feuds since becoming champion. Now, don't get me wrong, 2 or 3 weeks ago on SmackDown, he had a great promo with Kevin Owens, but what have they done to build on this feud since then? What have they done to make it more personal? They've showed Kevin Owens showing up in his car in a Twitter promo every single week. That's what they've done. They've done absolutely nothing to develop this feud. Cody Rhodes is the North Star of the wrestling industry, allegedly, and he's not even on Survivor Series. But Shinsuke Nakamura and LA Knight was on Survivor Series. Ludwig Kaiser was on Survivor Series. But Cody Rhodes can't? This storyline has been dating back to Bash in Berlin with him and KO, and he can't even get on the Survivor Series card? They're saving him for a D-tier PLE like Saturday Night Main Event next week? Come on, man. I'm going to do a full-blown rant on why I think SmackDown is dead, probably in a couple days, so I'll fully expand on that later. But the problem is that with no Bloodline, and the simple fact that they're doing this new transfer portal thing, right? So the Raw roster and the SmackDown rosters are going to be switching, some members of the rosters are going to be switching locations. Some will go to NXT, some will go to SmackDown, and some will go to Raw. It's going to be a whole different, brand switch with things going to Netflix, like Raw going to Netflix and all that. They want to try and change around the rosters. That's great. But the problem is that SmackDown is going to die. Apparently the show's going to become 3 hours next year. No one's going to want to watch a 3-hour SmackDown where the main event is potentially a segment with Gunther and Tommaso Ciampa or Gunther and Andrade. You know what I'm saying? That's boring. Nobody cares about that garbage. So, again, we'll just see what happens. But yeah, SmackDown going forward is probably going to suck. And the episode a few weeks ago was the last great episode for a long time. Now let's get into tonight's episode and what took place in it. Now the show basically begins with Sakoa is basically walking through the scanning part, where they scan you in when you're entering a building or whatnot. Jacob Fatu and Tama Tonga are with him. Apollo Crews is trying to scan in as well. And they just super kick Apollo Crews, beat the crap out of him. Security comes over. Jacob Fatu super kicks them. Tama Tonga's beating them up. Sakoa spikes, or not spikes, but destroys one of the security guards and throws him against a railing or something like that, and then they walk over into the arena, right? They're pissed off, they're upset, obviously, after the Bloodline lost at the new Bloodline lost to the OG Bloodline at War Games. They're pissed off, they're upset, and they want to send a message. And man, Solo Sikoa actually cut a very solid promo. We'll talk about that later in the night. He cut a good promo basically explaining that they're trying to set a message going forward, so this was cool. One thing to note, though, is that unfortunately, Bronson Reed broke his ankle, Jimmy Uso broke his foot, and Tonga Loa, I should say, tore his bicep. So all three of them are going to be out for an indefinite amount of time, at least probably a couple months. It's unfortunate. Bronson Reed was, I think he's above 350 pounds or 300 pounds, whatever. He jumped off the top of the cage, and when he did that, his ankle crashed in, which was, obviously expected, I guess, at that point. It was a very dangerous spot. I'm surprised he went up there and did that, but, hey, man, he put his body on the line for a moment and for entertainment, and, it was definitely a moment. So, hopefully he recovers quickly. Tonga Loa, he tore his bicep. Not exactly sure how that happened in the match, but it happened, so hopefully he recovers soon. And then obviously Jimmy Uso with that massive splash at the top of the cage, he broke his foot, so he's going to be out too. So yeah, and also Roman Reigns is out because of his part-time schedule. So basically the Bloodline is going to be non-existent on SmackDown probably for the next month, and you probably won't see any of them on Raw except for maybe Jey Uso and Sami, and you may see Roman on the Netflix premiere for Raw. Other than that, you won't see anything of the OG Bloodline probably for the next month and a half, so enjoy. We start off with Cody Rhodes doing the usual boring Cody Rhodes is nonsense. This is actually upsetting to see this tonight because a few weeks ago, he cut a very good promo with Kevin Owens. He actually did a great job. Probably his best promo of the year. And now we get from that to him cutting a boring promo where he's out there in the ring by himself doing the usual, so, when you want to talk about? When you want to talk about? Because he no longer says, what do you want to talk about? It's now, what do you want to talk about? What do you want to talk about? I know what I want to talk about. I want to talk about how bad your title reign has been. But anyways, he basically says in the promo, we're going to do Saturday Night Main Event next week, Minneapolis, and I'm feeling very libational tonight, but there's one problem, and that is Kevin Owens, and he doesn't respect me, so now I have to defend my title, and then he gets cut off. Chad Gable shows up on Smackdown. This is the problem I was just saying. Smackdown and WWE as a whole has a very, very minuscule amount of superstars, so there's no one who actually is a big enough draw to come out there and actually entertain anybody. So now you have random undercarders from Raw like Chad Gable, who was on a hot streak earlier this year, don't get me wrong, I was actually rooting for him to get a push, but he ended up becoming back to being booked like a jobber, and now he shows up on SmackDown. The draft and all that stuff means absolutely nothing. The brand split, it means nothing because everyone from SmackDown shows up on Raw and everyone from Raw can show up on SmackDown. You know what I'm saying? So it's just ridiculous. Chad Gable comes out and he's like, I'm from Minnesota and I know these people are very simple-minded so they can't understand some things. And then Chad Gable comes out into the ring and basically tells Cody to his face, you are an awful friend. I've looked at all the different information, with you and Kevin Owens and everything, and you are just a bad friend. You ruined this. You team with the one guy he hated in Roman Reigns. I'm like, dude, nobody cares anymore. Nobody cares. Chad Gable is a jobber. You had your chance to get hot in the crowd, and you were super over with the crowd as a heel, and you were cutting good promos and bullying people in the Alpha Academy. It was entertaining. You were putting on good matches like usual, and everything was good. But your ship has sailed, bro. Your moment's moved on. So why is Chad Gable even on this show? Why couldn't this have been like Carmelo Hayes again for maybe another, Game 7 Melo? Maybe they go into Game 3 with him and Cody. You know what I'm saying? Why couldn't you just do that? Or something interesting? Chad Gable showing up is boring because he had absolutely nothing to say. And after he says Cody's a bad friend and says that Cody is a joke and that he's a superficial champion who dresses nice and only cares what the fans think and stuff, it's superficial, Cody's like, you know what? I don't think I'm superficial. I think that I am a champion, and you know a lot about reinventing the wheel. You used to be Shorty G, and I used to be Stardust, so we should be able to relate to one another. But you want to disrespect him, hey? You want to get under my skin? So, we're going to wrestle later tonight for a libation belt. And so basically, Cody Rhodes and Chad Gable have a match later on in the night, for nothing. It's just a random throwaway match. And the point is that this feud and this promo, I should say, is boring. They wasted time. Kevin Owens could have came out and helped start the show. He could have came out in a suit in a nice little gag or a funny segment. But instead, he doesn't come out. He's too busy in his car, and then he comes out in the last minute of the show to brawl with Cody Rhodes. It is embarrassing. WWE has no star power. They have zero star power. Cody Rhodes is out there in the ring with the WWE Championship, and it feels like an ancillary feud with an ancillary promo worker. That's what it feels like. None of this stuff with the WWE Championship feels WWE Championship level. Do you remember when Roman Reigns was out there in the ring with Drew McIntyre, with Brock Lesnar, with Seth Rollins, with The Rock, even with Cody Rhodes when he was helping to elevate Cody Rhodes when he first came back to the company, when he was a year in leading up to Mania 39, and obviously this year at Mania 40. Roman Reigns has that gravitas. The Bloodline story has that main event level gravitas. Heck, LA Knight has that main event level gravitas because LA Knight is awesome. When Roman was in the ring with him, they had two great segments, and the build to that match within 1 month leading up to last year's Crown Jewel was better than the build up for this Cody and KO match at Saturday Night Main Event that's had 3.5 months to develop since Bash in Berlin. Do you see what I'm saying? There is levels to the storytelling and the booking that SmackDown just doesn't have intrigue anymore. If you have no stars on the show, what are you going to do about it? Seth Rollins, McIntyre, Punk, everyone else, Roman Reigns. He's not Roman Reigns isn't even showing up on the show, but you get the point. These other dudes I'm talking about are all on Raw. SmackDown has nothing going forward. And instead of, finding these great talents that you may not have looked into, like Montez Ford, for example, you have Montez Ford backstage getting beat up off camera in the tag team championship match between the Motor City Machine Bums, raise your fists. The Motor City Machine Bums versus Street Profits match gets canceled tonight. It's like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Montez Ford and Angelo Dawkins, the Street Profits, are the only tag team in WWE, arguably. There's no argument. They're the only ones that actually come out, besides the Usos, obviously, and the Bloodline-related stuff, that come out and get a reaction. They get a good reaction from the crowd, and in the match, they also get, chants for them and everything. And the crowd is actually wowed, and they're popping for different moves that the Street Profits do. Because the Street Profits are over. They have charisma. They can wrestle great. They're super athletic. They have a good theme. And the crowd, they're over with the crowd. And it's been this way for years, and nothing has expanded with the way they're being booked. It's sad. Instead of finding new superstars or mid-card stars like Montez Ford, or you can make Montez Ford into a main eventer, really, he has that talent. Same with LA Knight. These people are relegated to being jobbers. LA Knight loses to Shinsuke. Montez Ford struggles to beat Motor City Machine Bums and can't even get on the show anymore because he's getting beat up backstage. It's embarrassing. And it quite frankly, it's just unacceptable at this point, man. So that's that. Now that I'm talking about this, I might as well talk about, the tag team match that happened. DIY, I'm going a little bit out of order tonight. DIY has a tag match versus the Motor City Machine Bums because it's very obvious DIY are the ones that attacked the Street Profits backstage. After they did that, they go on into the ring. In the match, the whole storyline is that, Johnny and Tommaso are not getting along with each other. So they're at odds the whole entire match. And then all of a sudden, there's they're doing a play on it, right? Tommaso throws a chair in the ring, distracts the ref. Johnny Gargano hits a low blow on one of the Motor City Machine Guns. And then after that, he hits the low blow. Alex Shelley or whatever his name is like, dude, what are you doing? What are you doing? And then Johnny Gargano just beats him up, super kicks him in the face. Tommaso and Johnny hit their finisher, and that's it. DIY are the new tag team champions. And after Johnny Gargano officially turned heel, he got a mid to basically non-reaction from the crowd. And after they won the belts, it was another mid-reaction from the crowd because nobody cares about Johnny Gargano or Tommaso Ciampa. Even though I think Tommaso Ciampa is doing decent work as a heel, he isn't over with the crowd. You should be giving the championships to the people who are the most talented, the most charismatic, the best on the mic, and the best in the ring. The Street Profits have a collection of all of those things, and they're sitting backstage getting knocked out. At this point, Montez Ford needs to leave the company. Leave the company. Get out of there. They're not using your talents correctly, and I don't even know if AEW would either at this point with the stuff they're doing. So who cares? Just leave it alone now. Montez Ford, it's just embarrassing to see what's happened to this guy. All the talent in the world, all the charisma in the world, the athleticism, younger side of the roster, everything I always say about these guys for the last 8 weeks. And it doesn't matter. It does not matter. You're just going to continue to get DIY over and over and over again. So I'm done with this. DIY are your new tag champions. Nobody cares. Tommaso Ciampa goes backstage and he's like, yeah, now I can tell my daughter, daddy's not a loser. Daddy's not a loser. He's a champion. No, daddy's a jobber. That's what he is. Daddy is a jobber. That's exactly what he is. Anyways, Bianca Belair versus Piper Niven. Easily the best part of the night as far as I'm concerned. This match was actually very good. Now, pretty much there was a couple boring spots in the first half of this match, but the second half kicked into high gear and it became really good. Piper Niven was actually doing decent moves like this, like pop-up, not a pop-up powerbomb, but like a counter powerbomb pickup thing she did versus Bianca. It was really cool. Bianca, was doing her dodges with the athleticism. She had quote-unquote injured ribs, so that's what she was selling this entire match. But at the end of the match, pretty much, Chelsea Green comes out and tries to get involved. Bianca grabs her and throws her inside of the ring. And then after this happens, Piper Niven's trying to go up to the top rope. So Bianca hits her a couple times. It looks like she's going for a power bomb, gets dodged out of it. But then she goes up again to try and pick up Piper Niven and actually gets her. Does a KOD on Piper Niven onto Chelsea Green and then pins Piper Niven. A great finish to the match. The crowd gave it a massive pop when it finished. It was a very, very solid match. I'm not going to sit here and say, this is awesome like the crowd was. It wasn't an awesome or a masterpiece match from start to finish, okay? Relax yourself. But did it have some really great moments? Absolutely. Piper Niven, this is probably her best match she's had in a long time, and Bianca Belair just continues to prove at this point why her and Io Sky are the only women's wrestlers right now that I would genuinely deem as good to great. The only ones in the entire industry, or not industry, sorry, just in WWE specifically, you know what I'm saying? Now don't get it twisted. Charlotte Flair and Bianca Belair are both great, but at the end of the day, Bianca and Io are the only ones here right now. They're not injured. They're there every week. They're always out there fighting or cutting promos. I mean, the promos may not be good, but at least they're out there, and they're contributing good matches that are getting over with the crowd because Bianca Belair is just incredible in the ring at this point. It's very simple. You know what I'm saying? She's super athletic. She has all the features in order to be a main eventer. As far as I'm concerned, Nia Jax needs to lose the belt and give it to Bianca Belair. I wouldn't mind Bianca having the WWE Women's Championship because at the end of the day, who else are you going to give it to? You know what I'm saying? Bayley again? Chelsea Green, Tiffany Stratton, which Tiffany Stratton actually did a good job tonight as well. We'll talk about her. She was in the Triple Threat U.S. Women's Championship match. Quite frankly, Elektra Lopez is one of the worst wrestlers on the roster. It's very simple, right? I don't want to be that guy to say it because, it sounds bad, but it's facts. She's not good. I mean, I don't know what else to really say about it. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you guys. She's not good. So pretty much the problem is with this situation is this. Elektra Lopez, Naomi, and Tiffany Stratton is basically a bunch of botches. I have one on the screen here. I'll show you. It was a video of while I was watching this match. This is exactly what I saw. Just look at this. Naomi absolutely botches this kick. It's not even close. Right? And Elektra Lopez doesn't even sell it as if she at least hit it to try and make it look somewhat real. It's just bad wrestling. So we can skip to the end of this match. Tiffany Stratton hits an absolutely phenomenal moonsault that she hasn't hit in months, but she hit a moonsault tonight, her prettiest moonsault or whatever it's called, and it was amazing. The match is officially over, and after it's over, Tiffany Stratton gets a great pop from the crowd. I think she's from Minnesota, so, that's why, the crowd was super over with her tonight. She did a very good job out there in the ring. She was the only one who actually looked like she cared about wrestling good in this match, to be fair, so it's a good thing that she won. She's likely going to lose to Chelsea Green in the finals of this U.S. Championship tournament, but hey, man, we'll just see what happens. All I know is that, quite frankly, I am absolutely done with every women's wrestler who isn't named Io Sky, Charlotte Flair, Bianca Belair, or Becky Lynch. That's the way I see it now with the women's division. I'm absolutely done with all these jobbers. They all suck. The next thing that happened was Shinsuke Nakamura coming out after winning the U.S. Championship. He basically comes out to the ring, he lays the championship belt down. He comes out looking like, like some big, final boss of like the Wolverine solo movie when he's fighting against all like the Japanese gangs and all that stuff and the warlords, the samurais, whatever, the Yakuza, whatever they're called. He basically comes out, pretty decent entrance, and gets cut off by L.A. Knight. Yeah. LA Knight comes out there, basically says, you know what, you haven't beaten me legit yet. All you've been doing is attacking me in the back, or hitting me in the back of the head, or hitting me from behind, or doing all that stuff. You've never beat me straight up face to face. You're using mist, you're using backstage, or behind the back attacks, and even you got one over by hitting me in the back of the head with a knee at Survivor Series. But I'll tell you what, and he puts his LA Knight glasses on, he calls them the little mist blockers. That's a pretty funny moment of the promo. He basically calls them the mist blockers, and he goes out into the ring to get up, to get up and talk to Shinsuke and demand a rematch. And then Andrade comes out because Andrade's pissed off because he lost to Shinsuke, and Shinsuke kind of used some, cheating-esque tactics by taking the turnbuckle off and, making him hit the actual, like the raw metal or whatever. And Andrade gets attacked by Tama Tonga. The Bloodline comes out with Fatu, Solo, and what's his name, bro? Fatu, Solo, and Tama Tonga all come out, and they beat the crap out of LA Knight and Andrade. And Shinsuke's basically standing there, and, Shinsuke backs out of the ring. He's got mist coming out of his mouth. He's got, like, the black goo coming out like he's Venom. Eddie. You know what I'm saying? Basically, what happens next is that Solo actually cuts a phenomenal promo. I'm going to be honest. This promo was great. Solo Sakoa basically says, I'm tired of people treat me like a joke. He sounds like he's about to cry for a second. He's like, I'm tired of people treat me like a joke. You know what I'm saying? Like a joke. Because Solo Sakoa comes out, he's upset, right? He's absolutely pissed off. He's like, we lost, but I still got the Ulafala. I'm still the tribal chief, and if you step up to us, you're gonna get knocked down. I'm sick of people disrespecting me and disrespecting my bloodline. Even though we lost, we still on top. And anyone who comes up to us is gonna get absolutely destroyed immediately. And that's what they just did. They just destroyed LA Knight and destroyed Andrade. So that was a pretty cool little moment. Solo cut a very impassioned, it had some emotion to it. It had some force to it. He came out and actually cared about this promo. Solo Sakoa obviously has been getting significantly better over the last few months, pretty much since SummerSlam, and he's just been doing a good job. This was a very, very good promo. It was arguably the best part of the night, honestly. I thought the Bianca versus Piper Niven match was the best part of the night, but this might be the best part because Solo's promo here, man, wow. Very good, felt intense, and Jacob Fatu was staring at him like Jacob Fatu had done 6 lines, and you know what the lines are of. You know what I'm saying? Like, Jacob Fatu was absolutely just coked out, bro. This dude looked absolutely insane. But yes, great promo from Solo Sakoa. He says kind of like a couple cliche generic things, but at the end of the day, you get the point of the promo. He's emotional, he's upset, but he's trying to tell people that he's still the head of the table and still the tribal chief no matter what they supposedly lost at Survivor Series. He's still that guy, and he's coming for everything that he's lost, which, I mean, I guess, he didn't really say that, but you get the point. He's coming for everyone pretty much, right? Anyone who steps up to the new bloodline is going to get destroyed. And then we had this entire, like, quote-unquote interview between Michael Cole and Kevin Owens. Now, this is pretty much ridiculous. Kevin Owens and Michael Cole get in the car, and Kevin Owens basically just starts ranting for 3 minutes. He says that Cody Rhodes is a golden child. Michael Cole, you're biased towards Cody Rhodes, which is true. Michael Cole is a Cody Rhodes meat rider. But Kevin Owens basically brings that up, and he says that he doesn't care about the Usos, and he said that he is going to deal with Sami Zayn a little bit later. You know what I'm saying? So I'm assuming that leading up to Mania 41, there will be a fallout between KO and Sami again for like the 15 billionth time. This story between KO and Sami turning on each other and being friends again, and then turning on each other and then being friends again, is overplayed. It just is. But the point is this. Kevin Owens, basically at the end of this entire interview segment, is just yelling and raging about how he's been silenced and suppressed after he beat up on the golden boy of the company, Cody Rhodes. And he says that he's not in the wrong, that Cody is in the wrong. Cody is the one who got involved in this situation and ruined it. You know what I'm saying? He put himself in partnership with the people that Kevin Owens didn't like, and that made Kevin Owens' life, a living hell pretty much, right? And so Kevin Owens is basically upset with that. He's irritated, and then he goes up and it basically says, Michael Cole, get out of my car. Now, this is a funny part. He says, Michael Cole, get out of my rental car. And then Michael Cole walks back up to the car, and then Kevin Owens just drives off. He's like, Michael, come here, bro. And then Michael walks up, and then he just drives off and leaves. It was a very funny part. But why is Kevin Owens not out in the ring or doing anything in the ring, talking to Cody Rhodes or fighting him? I don't care about a 1-minute brawl at the end of the show. He should be in there doing an absolute full-on brawl, people going through tables or going through barricades or something actually intense. This wasn't intense what happened at the end of the show, but we're going to get to that in a little bit later. So that promo pretty much happens with Kevin and Michael Cole, and then we get to the main event, I believe. I don't think I'm missing anything. Yeah, Cody Rhodes versus Chad Gable. This match was okay. I'm not super impressed by it. The last 5 minutes was literally the same thing. Ankle lock, counter, ankle lock, counter, ankle lock, counter. And then Cody Rhodes hit this nice inverted suplex off the top rope, which was a great move. And Chad Gable rips off Cody's boot in order to try and get more pressure on the ankle lock or whatnot. And then Cody dodges out of that, hits a super Cody cutter with no boot on, with his Nike Elite socks on. So that was a pretty cool thing. And I would say that it's cool to see the champion wrestle, but at the same point, Cody Rhodes is a full-time wrestler. You should be wrestling. Do you get what I'm saying? If Roman Reigns or Brock Lesnar is not wrestling, they're part-timers. Who cares? If Cody Rhodes is a full-timer and he's just now wrestling consistently, well, I don't even know if it's consistently. He's wrestled twice in the last 3 weeks, but to be honest with ourselves, is that really going to be rewarded? You know what I'm saying? You're a full-time champion. You have 7 matches on Smackdown in 8 months. I don't really know if we're rewarding that. But anyways, that's the simple fact of the matter. Cody and Chad Gable have an okay match. It's decent, I guess, whatever. Bunch of ankle lock counter, and then Cody Rhodes goes for a crossroads. Chad Gable counters a couple times, hits a German suplex, goes for the pin, then goes for an ankle lock again. Cody eventually counters Chad Gable's moonsault and then hits him with a crossroads. Chad Gable sells it very well. Match is over. After Cody Rhodes hits this, he's sitting there with the belt. He can't stand because his ankle's hurting or whatnot. Kevin Owens comes up and stomps on his ankle, and then, this sets up a little bit of a brawl. He stomps on Cody's ankle. Cody proceeds to stand up on that same ankle and then brawl with Kevin Owens, and then also does the outside dive thing as well. So does his ankle hurt or no? You know what I'm saying? Are you going to sell it or no? Yeah, what are we doing here? So that's pretty much the situation with that. Cody and KO brawl. The security comes out as always. The boring and idiotic security guards come out. They're pushing each other around, trying to stop, KO and Cody from fighting. And then KO and Cody get pushed away, and then they come back to each other, fight again, and then get pushed away again. Show fades to black. That's the end of SmackDown. Thank God. SmackDown is an absolute and utter disaster. It is atrocious. There is no legitimate way that I can actually sit here and see myself watching this for 3 hours straight every Friday next year if there's no Bloodline on the show, there's no Rock, there's no Punk, there's probably not even going to be Cody. Cody will probably be over on Raw with the Netflix deal. Come on. What will be the point of watching the show? Dead serious. Can someone please explain to me what the point is? From here on out, probably, dude, once Raw and Netflix happens and SmackDown probably goes to 3 hours, there's probably only going to be Raw reviews and PLE reviews from here on out, and then the rest will just be rants or coverage of the show a day later. Because I'm not staying up late watching a 3-hour SmackDown on a Friday night for some bums like Gunther and Tommaso Ciampa. It's absurd. But anyways, this episode of SmackDown felt like filler and utter nonsense and garbage. It just was. Nothing was really expanded upon. Nothing was developed. Nothing felt intrigued, or interesting, I should say. And nothing was main event level worthy. And nothing was really that good. Bianca and Piper Niven had a pretty solid match. Solo Sakoa cut a pretty good promo. And quite frankly, outside of that, nothing really worked here for me. It was boring. It was nonsensical, and you can tell that something is severely lacking from the show in terms of its importance when the Bloodline is not on it. And when Roman Reigns is not on SmackDown, SmackDown becomes garbage. It's a common denominator with the viewership. It's a common denominator with the viewership in the past. It's a common denominator with the fact that the storyline's not evolving and not being good. And it's obviously a common denominator with the viewership on social media and the main event level quality of SmackDown being gone when Roman Reigns and the Bloodline are not on the show. Everyone already knows this. Just start accepting it and move on. Now, There will be a review tomorrow night, probably after NXT Deadline. I am going to be watching that show because, I mean, at some point I have to watch some type of good wrestling, so maybe NXT will have that cooking on a PLE. So I'll watch that. If you guys want to see that, go ahead. You'll be able to watch that tomorrow night, probably after the show is over. And, of course, there will be the rant about why SmackDown is dead going forward. I'll have that out in a couple days. So with everything being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. SmackDown gets a solid 4 out of 10 for tonight. And hope you guys enjoyed. Have a great day. Peace out. Deuces, ooses, one love.